Hello and welcome to Good Business Pays Television, where we hear from organizations that pay fast and the leaders that run those organizations, and we ask them why and how they achieve that. And today we're lucky to have with us Martin Chown, who is the Chief Executive Officer at Sellafield, a name that probably is quite familiar to us, but we don't really know very much about the organization beyond the name and the fact that they're obviously a leader in the nuclear industry. So welcome, Martin, and I wondered if we could start by asking you about the business itself. Tell us about the business of Sellafield and also, of course, how you came to run it.
Absolutely, yes. Good morning. Hi, everybody. I'm Martin Chown. I'm the CEO of Sellafield. Sellafield is a large, complex nuclear site. We're a large industrial site. We also run a very large set of major construction projects up in the north of the UK. So we're building a lot of facilities as well as running the nuclear facilities. So we're a very large industrial employer. We have about 11,400 employees and about 5,000 contractors on site, as well as an office in Warrington, which is our engineering centre. So that's what Sellafield is. How I came to running the site and running the organisation, I've had a varied career in automotive, pharmaceutical, construction, various senior leadership roles, and it's led to me being the supply chain director at Sellafield and now the CEO. So I'm delighted to run the organisation. It's a fantastic privilege.
And can you give us a picture of the the ecosystem of the Sellafield business in terms of who are your customers and what type of supply chain do you have? What in terms of the numbers and types of organisation that have a supply chain?
Yeah, so ultimately our customer is the UK. So we're funded by the UK taxpayer. So we're funded by the government. So our customer is our community that we are based in, and everyone that lives in the UK. And our suppliers are a range of suppliers from very large organisations that are carrying out some of the major multi-billion-pound construction works, and a strong commitment to SMEs. Mostly UK-based, with a few overseas suppliers for specialist equipment, but the vast majority of it, we've mapped all of our supply chain, and it runs the length and breadth of the UK. So lots of different companies, more than 1,000 in total, supplying all the goods and services we need to make Sellafield a great success.
So, Good Business Pays, we have this thing called the Fast Payer Award, and Sellafield was a winner of that Fast Payer Award. And we also talk about payment culture, that being a culture. And we talk about payment culture as being part of the broader culture of an organization. And I just wondered what your thoughts are on that. Is payment culture part of a broader culture? And if so, how do they fit together?
Absolutely, it is. And so our culture, we set out in a document called the manifesto. It's publicly available. If anyone wants to go and have a look at it, you're more than welcome to. And that sets how we treat everybody at Sellafield, including all of our business relationships, as well as our employees and all of our contractors who work at Sellafield. It's based on trust and respect, and it's based on a mutual understanding and supporting each other, and that runs throughout of it. If you want to then look at how that affects our payment culture, we use that as our guiding principle about treating people fairly and making sure that they're paid on time. And if there's an issue or a concern, dealing with it quickly and resolving it. It is a fundamental part of our culture. And our purpose at Sellafield is very clear. It's we're creating a clean and safe environment for future generations, and everything runs from there. So we're in it for the long term, and having those relationships built on trust is a significant part of that.
Now, you've come from industries like, I think I remember construction and automotive and pharmaceutical, all industries that we look at Good Business Pays as not being the best payers, right? They're not very fast in terms of paying their suppliers, but clearly you created a different culture where you are leading the organization at Sellafield. So why is paying fast and paying on time, why is that important to you?
Again, it goes to fairness and respect. So companies rely on these payments. A lot of companies have supply chains that they've set up, and they are relying on these payments to in turn pay their suppliers, pay their employees, and run their businesses. So it's really important for us that we play our role in there as the client, pay our suppliers on time, enable their cash flow to work, and help them to be effective in their operations. The cash flow for big companies and small companies is a vital part and can be part of company failure. We definitely don't want to contribute to that, and we want to be the other side and helping people to thrive.
And it's a good thing to do, obviously. Paying things is the right thing to do and the good thing to do, to pay your suppliers fast. But have you seen better business results for Sellafield, the business, as a result of this really good supplier relationship at all?
I believe so. So it's not something where you put in X and a Y. It's not a formulaic thing where you'll get something immediately out. We pay fast, and therefore this happens. But it's a longer term benefit. So great suppliers and the best suppliers in all industries can choose who they work with, especially in the current times of growth around the UK and beyond. And great suppliers will choose not to work with companies that don't pay fast and don't pay properly and don't hold that respectful relationship. So we are seeing great performance at Sellafield and significantly improved performance at Sellafield on our nuclear operations, and especially on our major projects build. And that's because we're able to attract the best suppliers in the industry to that work. And a fundamental part of that is making sure we pay them on time. I believe it's a fundamental to running a successful business in the UK and beyond.
And so what's your view, or you don't have to answer this, but why the majority of companies in the UK are still paying slowly or late? You are in the minority. Only 5% of companies that report win the Fast Payer Award. So 95% are still paying slowly or late. Why do you think that is?
So, I mean, I was delighted. I'm not dodging the guy. I was delighted to win the Fast Payer Award. It came as a great surprise to us, but I knew that we were a fast payer, and I see the stats all the time about how well we pay. So it wasn't. I guess it was a surprise, but maybe it shouldn't have been. But to answer your question, there's two real reasons. One, there are some issues around the management of payments that companies need to address, and some companies who go merger and acquisition, or they've got system issues and all of that, they need to resolve those and get them sorted out, and that's doable. And payment solutions are a lot simpler and more economical than they used to be. So there's no real reason why that can't be resolved. But I've had that in my career, where running multiple ERP systems and other matters make it more complex. But companies, big organizations, have to sort that out. The second one, if a company takes a view around cash flow and their own cash flow, I think that's a very limited view, and one that won't help the companies or the suppliers either in the medium or long term. So if there's a cash flow discussion around that, I don't think that's a tenable thing to have. I don't think it's a fair thing to do, and I don't think for companies that will prove to be the right business strategy for them. So I don't know. I won't talk about anybody else or any other companies, but I've seen those in the press, and I've seen kind of things commented on that in the press. It wouldn't be right for me to enter in that kind of discussion, but that's my view on it. One, around systems and making sure companies tackle those issues and get them sorted out, and the second one is a false belief around cash flow and withholding payments. I don't think that's a valid thing to do.
So there's a will and a way, I think you're saying.
It's not always easy. Issues will happen. We're a very good payer, we're a great payer, and sometimes we still have issues, and we will resolve them very quickly.
Good. And I wanted to ask about your board as well, because we're seeing a growing interest amongst things like non-executive directors in the payment performance of companies and how they're doing. How engaged is your board in this subject of supplier payment at all, not at all, and if so, how?
So our board get regular updates. They know where we are in terms of paying our suppliers. It's included in the board information pack that we give them. They knew about the award. They know about our payment on time stats, and we summarize those for the board every year as well as the regular updates that they get. So it is an area of interest, and it's part of the board's interest about how we manage our supply chain, and they take that very seriously. I suppose I should have mentioned our supply chain. Of the 2.6 billion that Sellafield runs on, our supply chain runs on 1.5 billion of that. So it's a huge part of what we do. All of our work is delivered in partnership with our supply chain. It's not a small part of our operations. It's a huge part. It's more than half of what we do.
It's very much a partnership, not a transactional relationship.
Long-term relationships based on trust and respect, very much a partnership.
So finally, actually, because this has been very good, and thank you for all these brilliant tips and ideas, but what tips might you have for other CEOs and boards who look at what you're doing at Sellafield and they see the value of this partnership between an organization, its supply chain, but they're not quite there yet? So what tips might you have for other CEOs and boards, around, why do it, which you've covered, perhaps you'll cover again, but also how does a CEO then get their organization behind this?
Yeah, sure. So why do it, and I'll cover it again, is because it's a fundamental part of running a business properly and making sure that your supply chains are robust. And robust supply chains are the key, even more now, even more important than it has been for many years in running a large, successful business. And other businesses have had significant issues where they haven't established a robust supply chain. And paying suppliers on time is a fundamental part of having a robust supply chain, I believe. So there's a real imperative for CEOs to make sure that it's top of your list to do it. The second part of it, I would say, is to know where you are. So to understand how you're paying all of your suppliers and where there are issues and concerns, and then look at how those concerns can be resolved quickly and communicate with your supply chain and tell them what you're doing and how you're making things better and addressing issues. Where you do have issues, it's important that they're acted on as quick as you can. So things will happen, mismatches in values and things will happen, and it's important that the resources are there to resolve those. And in any large business with millions of invoices, sometimes not everyone will go through straight away. So it's important that those are resolved. I think engaging the company, making sure the board is aware is important, but then taking our responsibility seriously as business leaders, making sure that companies thrive is a fundamental part of being a proper business leader in 2023, really. I think that's really a fundamental of where we are. So I think it is incumbent upon us to do fast payment and carry out fast payment consistently. And I'd encourage everyone out there to do it if you can, and tackle issues where you have them.
Well, thank you, Martin Chown, CEO at Sellafield. Thanks for such a wide-ranging and open and honest interview. Long may you reign as fast payers. Thank you from Good Business Pays and the small businesses of the UK. And that concludes our interview for today. Thank you.
Thank you very much.